Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the third edition of Cinema Effect. It is I, Zach, not Isaac, just Isaac with the comma in the middle, and I'm joined by a new guest here today, Jaden. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Zach.
And me, Liam. Hello.
Oh, you didn't? Are you serious, bro? You didn't let me do the little nickname thing.
Oh, do it then. Have you got something planned?
I did. I was going to say, and I'm also joined by the happiest man on the planet right now, Liam.
Hello.
And that's, of course, in regards to the film we're doing today.
Oh yes, Phantom Thread.
Your favourite movie of all time confirmed?
No.
All right.
It's a good movie though.
Oh, we'll get into that plenty. But before we get into anything else, before we get too serious into the movie talk, I want to ask, how are we coping with the survival scenarios? This is diary number 3 of the coronavirus outbreak here on Cinema Effect. I want to ask, Fitzy, what's going on? How are you handling the survival kind of preparations? Do you have the resources necessary?
Yeah, I'm surviving quite well. Got my bunker and the food and the toilet paper and all that. But yeah, uni was cancelled this week, so we didn't have tutors or we didn't have all the lectures really. But there was still stuff to do, like assignments and stuff. But the uni dates are really weird now. Like they're kind of still adjusting, so it's an ongoing thing, I guess.
And you mentioned toilet paper, of course. Everyone's the hot item. How are you going with that?
Yeah, fine. How are you going, Zach?
Yeah, I think we're okay. To be honest, I haven't really paid much attention. I've just been using it and hoping that there's another one behind me.
Right.
And so far so good. Jaden, how about you?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty stoked.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, as long as we're as long as we've got toilet paper, it doesn't really matter about food or water or anything else, does it?
Yeah.
No,
absolutely not. Well, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie. You guessed it, every single week. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify, and the show posts every single Monday. It posts every Monday at 8 p.m. Local Australian time to everyone who's listening, who basically the only people who are listening, who are also live in our area. But if you by chance, live somewhere extravagant and not here in Australia, then when I say it posts every single Monday, it remains accurate because I made sure to post it at a time where it is Monday everywhere in the world.
Oh, that's very clever.
Thank you. How clever am I? I know, it's great.
Now our friends from Uganda can listen on a Monday as well.
Absolutely, yes. We need to be inclusive to all our African listeners and etc. Everyone else. Feel free to submit any questions, reviews, random thoughts, or feedback for next week's episode or any episode by leaving a comment on the YouTube video. I still don't know if that's the most efficient method for that. Have you got any suggestions, Jaden?
In terms of like reviews and suggestions and stuff.
Yeah, how people can kind of submit stuff. I don't know.
I mean, I think if you just drop your phone number on the podcast, just let anyone just message it.
Yeah. Just look in the description. My phone number will be there. No, definitely not. I mean, for now, all right, I'll stick with it. No one's done it anyway, so for now, I'll submit. We do have a review submitted this week, which is great. But okay, yeah, leave shit in the YouTube comments. I'll see it, so feel free to do that. Whether it's about next week's film, any news that goes down, you've got some thoughts to share, feel free to do so. And this week, I'm doing something new in the spirit of beginning community interaction. I'm demanding that everyone listening to this right now, I'm demanding that you have to leave a comment telling us about a TV show you've been watching recently and what you think about it. You've got to do it. I'm giving you some good old homework. So, yeah, do that and I'll read them on the show next week. How about that?
What if they're not watching, anything? Just, just feel like listening for fun.
I guess. You got me there, though. That's a conundrum. Like, everyone's watching something, right?
I mean,
I don't know.
Possibly.
Yeah, well. Oh, shit. Oh, well. I'm assuming you're watching something. If you're watching something, you've got no choice, is what I'm saying. All right, let's get into it. This week's film, We're talking about the Phantom. Phantom Thread. We're talking about the Phantom Thread.
Not
Phantom Thread.
just Phantom Thread.
Phantom Thread. Not yeah, that's right. Not the Phantom Thread. Not the Phantom Menace. It's just You're right. Sorry. Data dump. Let's do it. The film opened in the US on the 24th of November. Holy shit! I did not write the year here. I'm so dumb. I know it's 2017 though. Luckily. Thank you. Yes. Wow, that's how unorganized I am. The film was directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. I just heard Fitzy. I think he just let out a little giggle or so. Did you make a little noise there? Or?
Did I? No.
And the film was also written by Paul Thomas Anderson. And Fitzy, do you want to? I know how much you love good old Paul. Do you want to break down what other films has he directed?
He made There'll Be Blood in 2008, 2007, sorry, which lost to No Country for Old Men at the Oscars, but was a big contender.
Injustice.
Yeah, that's big injustice there. But yeah, I think that's the kind of movie. That's definitely one of my favorite movies, and what really, I don't know. I guess yeah, it's my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. The one that really sold me on him, I guess. And then there's a lot of different '90s movies that are really great. Magnolia with Tom Cruise is in that one. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Boogie Nights, kind of about disco and stuff in the '90s. If you want to check that out with Mark Wahlberg, and yeah, he doesn't have a specific. I don't really think he has a specific style in the way you can like in the way Tarantino or Nolan has a really specific style that you can easily identify, but he's just a really great writer, director. He brings the most out of his actors all the time. So yeah, I really love him as a director.
Absolutely. Jumping into the trivia quickly, the script was written by Paul Thomas Anderson in collaboration with Daniel Day-Lewis. Anderson has even said that he probably should have some kind of co-writing credit. So,
Okay.
I mean, that's interesting. That is interesting. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that Daniel Day-Lewis could write, I guess.
Yeah, didn't know he had the ability to write.
Yeah.
Good on him. Now on IMDb, Paul Thomas Anderson is also credited with cinematography for this film as the director of photography. But, again, jumping into trivia, Paul Thomas Anderson disputed reports that he served as his own cinematographer, stating that while no director of photography was hired, he collaborated with and was advised by his camera operators and gaffers, since he does not have the technical expertise of a cinematographer. Okay, well, that's interesting, because I looked in there and I saw that he was the cinematographer for the film, and I was like, what? Has he done that before? But I guess not. He hasn't done it before, has he, Fitzy? I don't think so.
I'm not sure, but
Okay.
I think
I thought,
I think maybe. I don't know. I feel like he might just be being humble there because he did work with a team on this one, but I think he has done cinematography for himself in his other movies. So I don't know. I think you can definitely credit him. But yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well, I mean, he only does everything, I guess. The film was composed by Johnny Greenwood, who is a long-time collaborator with Paul Thomas Anderson. He also composed, he's composed four other films of his, including There Will Be Blood. So that's kind of interesting. We'll get into the score further for sure. In the film, here we go. The performances are from now. I've only got three today because there's only really three, I think, worth mentioning. We got Vicky Creeps.
No idea how to pronounce that.
We'll go, whatever. We'll use both interchangeably. Daniel Day-Lewis and Leslie Manville, who plays Cyril. So, again, jumping into trivia, look at me go. This is allegedly Daniel Day-Lewis's final film. He announced on June 20th, 2017 that he was retiring from acting, which I find, I don't know, it's kind of a funny thing, isn't he? He's been so sporadic in the films he chooses to perform in, and then this is his last one, apparently. I don't, obviously given just history with this kind of thing and artists saying they've got one more in them and then they do like 20 more or whatever, but I don't know, something about, I kind of believe him. Do you believe him?
It sucks if it's true, but I don't know. He's had like 5 year breaks at points, and then he's come back. So there's always a
Mm.
chance. But I don't know. I guess he's a very honest person. So you can trust him, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's my thing. I feel like I feel like there's a lot of precedent for it not being true, but at the same time, like I feel like if he's saying it, I kind of believe him. You know. So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe we'll see him again. Maybe we won't. The film has a budget of $35 million and a box office of $47.8 million. So definitely not overly financially successful. Not that a lot of these more smaller scale films are. But then at the same time, we talked about a few weeks ago about marketing budgets playing into whether films are profitable. And I would imagine, I don't know if either of you disagree with me, I would imagine that this film didn't have a huge marketing push.
I feel like I can recall like seeing a trailer or a TV spot pop up every now and then, but I don't feel like it was you know
Mm.
advertised as widely as other films of the time.
Okay. But I mean, the fact that you saw TV spots at all, I think, is saying something.
Mm.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think it was massive because
probably not.
you said it was 2017.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, that definitely surprised me because I mean that was only a couple of years ago. I didn't see that film in theaters, or well, I wasn't planning to or anything. So I guess the marketing wasn't that huge.
Yeah, no. Well, I guess all I'm saying is that I think the fact that Jaden saw TV spots at all indicates it had enough of a marketing budget to get TV spots here in Australia. And then at the same time, for it to only pass its budget on the box office by $12 million kind of indicates to me it lost money. But I mean, who knows?
I mean, with films like that, you kind of almost expect it just with today's market,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not universally true, but yeah, no, you're right. It is. It's definitely not uncommon. The film has a runtime of 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I'll give you the synopsis, and I'll try not to stuff it up, even though I definitely will. Set in 1915, to stuff that up immediately. Set in 1950s London. Thank you. Reynolds Woodcock. To sum it, oh my god, it's falling apart. Is a renowned dressmaker whose fastidious
Serious.
life is disrupted by a young, strong-willed woman, Alma, who becomes his muse and lover. This is a terrible segment. I don't know why I read the synopsis. It's why.
What do you mean? I think it's helpful,
I think you
isn't
should
it?
pass it
I
off to
just
Fitzy.
oh
Just
oh 100%. I really should. That's what I should do. Yeah, because 100% it's helpful, dude. I botch it every time though.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie. I had to look up how to say fastidious, and
fastidious, isn't it?
I'm still saying it wrong. Thank you. That's it. Fastidious. That is what Google said. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Oh my god, I'm so bad at this. All right. Well, I mean, we know Fitzy's history with Paul Thomas Anderson already quite well, I think. Jane, do you have any history with this director, or?
No, not really. His films have always been sitting in my to watch list, but like I've never actually got around to them until now when I've actually have a reason to.
Cool. So this is your first film of his.
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. It's my second film I've seen. There Will Be Blood, and I love it. So yeah. Okay. Phantom Thread. General thoughts. Fitzy, you kick us off.
Yeah, I really liked it. It's kind of a I don't know. It's kind of a twisted modern fairy tale type thing, and so this is my second viewing of it, but on the first viewing, I really liked it. All the different, obviously the music is great, the direction is great. Danny Day-Lewis is obviously going to give a great performance, but the ending was something that really left me going like, what? Like for the first time I saw it, but I feel like on this time because it's definitely a film that deserves interpretation and analysis, and I think on this time I sort of understood how the ending came into it more and just sort of understood more of it as a whole. So yeah, I definitely liked it more this time.
I'm really glad that you say that it deserves analysis and you understand it more, because I absolutely think it deserves analysis, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully today doing it some justice in its analysis, because I also I'm glad you have that perspective, because I definitely want to kind of figure it out more. You know what I mean? So, but Jaden, what did you think?
I mean, I guess it's along the lines of what Fitzy was saying, but I think it was really, really well crafted, and I think it's a fantastic film overall. But it's a shame that it was overshadowed that year. But I think it does deserve a lot more praise than what it got. I mean, in saying that, it did get a lot of praise, but
Mhm.
still.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you Well, what was it overshadowed by? Can you get? What do you mean? What was going on in 2017?
Shape of Water, Call Me by Your Name, Dunkirk, Lady Bird, Get Out. Three billboards. It's kind of
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
big year, and I guess it kind of just got pushed down.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Shape of Water and Call Me by Your Name are trash. So, oh god. Well, I should say I really liked the movie a lot. Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I agree 100%. Pretty closely, I think, with what you all said. I think it was very well crafted. You're right that Paul Thomas Anderson doesn't seem to have a style, at least externally, that I can, perceive. But it's just so clear that when you're watching a film of his, I feel like you're watching something that constantly has so much thought put into it. And I'm looking forward to, like I already said, I'm looking forward to understanding it further um, with this discussion.
Cool.
Okay, well, I guess to kick us off, discussion going down some points here. What do you? Maybe you can help me out here, Fitzy. What does the title of the film mean to you?
Phantom Thread.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can kind of see it as phantom meaning ghost and thread as in like story. So you could see it as just it's saying ghost story, like referring to his mother and his past and stuff like that. Or it could
Mm.
be referring also to the how he like stitches his mother into his coat, and the mother is sort of a ghost for him, phantom thread like that. So I think you can kind of it has a few different meanings.
Well. Speaking of the idea that he obviously, yeah, like you said, he sews words into his clothes and things like that. One thing that actually stood out to me about the film is that, well, not stood out to me, but when I was watching it, the moment when Alma kind of reveals the word that's kind of, or the phrase rather, that's underneath the dress that they're working on in the latter half of the film. I've got no idea what that said. I rewound it and I could
Oh,
not read it. What does it say?
it said never cursed. I'm pretty sure.
Never cursed.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that have any meaning to you or either of you? Or
Well, there's a kind of motif of a running motif in the movie of Reynolds thinking he's cursed with his life in general, I guess.
in relation to his uh, obsession with his craft, or
Well, like at near the start when he's describing like why he's not married and stuff like that, he's basically saying because he feels cursed as a kind of reason, and it's supported in other scenes, but yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, it's part of his psychology, I guess.
okay, interesting. So, does that at all relate to? Because a quote that stood out to me in the beginning portion was when he said that marriage would make him deceitful. Does that relate to that at all? Because I don't know. To me, that kind of stood out as a main kind of piece of dialogue that would kind of become important throughout the whole thing.
Um, I think that line is kind of him. It's kind of him being defensive, I guess. But I don't know. That kind of ties into the whole. What was your interpretation of the film in general? I guess we should start with.
I think that the film is just, I guess, a look at a relationship. At least to me, I just kind of see it as this really interesting kind of, or at least a relationship developing through this lens of this kind of this person who's just so obsessed, and so has such a ridiculous devotion to to what he does to his art, essentially. And I think the fact of seeing that in the 50s with the whole that period piece aspect to it, then coupled with obviously the art chosen is dressmaking. I don't know if the dressmaking itself is overly relevant. It's just the fact that I like it as a choice, as an art that he is obsessed with, that he does pursue to that level. But I guess I know I kind of this is the thing that the ending kind of threw me off with a little bit, because I do see the film as just how these two people are and aren't compatible and how they evolve over time. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, a little. What was your interpretation of the film, Jaden? What do you think of it?
Um, I just think it was an examination of the shifting power dynamics in the relationship of two people that perhaps aren't exactly compatible because of how different their personalities are and how much they clash. But ultimately, you know, two crazies might get together well, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for me, I really enjoyed. I guess I was going to say three quarters, but honestly, I guess it's really all but the last 10% of the film, where seeing that relationship develop, kind of seeing it definitely and quite evidently progress these different stages. Um, Obviously when they meet, and then to her moving in, and then how he deals with her moving in, and so on and so on, and then the decision for him to get married to her, and then how that kind of, there's more tension there still. It's just then that last 10%, I don't quite understand, for me, the turning point, how the moments that they decide that they are for each other. I just don't, the connection didn't really work for me in that way. And actually, hang on, before I go any further, I'm going to jump in here with Henry's review, our friend who submitted a review to the show of Phantom Thread, and his kind of problem in that way is similar to mine, so I'll read it out here. An incredibly beautiful film owing to Anderson's magnificent direction and the gorgeous soundtrack. While Day-Lewis gives an entrancing final performance, I found the editing left me... I'm sorry, the editing, Jesus. The ending left me somewhat baffled, as its ambiguity left me grasping for some kind of greater meaning. I don't know if I fully agree with that in terms of the greater meaning aspect, but I do definitely get what he's saying 100% when it comes to the ending. I just don't see how it all naturally fits in the ending. Why do they realize that this is right? Can you help me out here, Fitzy?
Um. So yeah, I totally Henry's review is definitely accurate to how I felt on my first viewing, and but I think kind of with how I see the movie now, it's actually the other way around. It's like the last 10% is pretty much my favorite part of the movie, because it kind of
Huh.
ties everything together. But I guess I'll just go through my interpretation as a whole. So I think there's a lot of different, I don't know, I guess keys in the movie to kind of piecing it all together. I think one of the most important ones is actually realizing that Reynolds is a really weak character, in the sense that he needs um, he needs others to do the things for him, except for dressmaking, of course, which is very talented in. But
Well, I mean, he doesn't even really do a lot of that, though.
what do you mean? Oh, dressmaking.
Well, doesn't he have that like crazy like crew of people that kind of like, obviously he designs everything, and it's kind of, everything's his brainchild, but is it to what extent is he part of the whole process of that?
Well, I guess he, yeah, designs the dresses, looks over
He still does some of
the
the stitching and sewing. They show it. They have a shot of him working on the wedding dress.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair.
but anyway, yeah, he so at the start of the movie he talks about his mother a bit, and how it's kind of in the back of his mind a lot. And I think Cyril kind of fills the role of the mother. She looks after the house for him, deals with people. If he's sick of his new muse or whatever, she'll get rid of him for. She'll get rid of her for him. And the movie is kind of about um, Reynolds kind of replacing the mother figure, and in place of Alma, I guess, and for someone who can take care of him. For someone who can take care of him, and there's also stuff about how like his real affection is kind of his work, his passion, and that kind of changes in the movie. But I think the ending really ties into all that.
Okay, I guess actually where now this I don't know if this is a valid point or if you're all going to think I'm a dumbass. Possibly either. I got no idea which way it's going to go. But for me, my confusion with the ending started at the New Year's Eve party scene where Reynolds decides he's going to walk down to the hall or wherever the hell it is, and I love the shot. Just focusing on Day-Lewis there as he kind of looks over the balcony. I really like that. But then I don't. What the hell happened here? Like, I don't get it. There's a few quick shots of like something happening in the crowd, and then he runs down there, and she's distressed on the wall. What the hell happened?
Fight broke out, wasn't it? I thought a fight broke out.
Is that what it was?
I think that's what I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Some of the people in the costume, I don't know, got in a little brawl. She kind of rushed off to the side, and he went down to, talk to her. At first, I thought it was going to be, a happy chat, of him being like, "I'm wrong," but obviously, that was not the way it went.
Okay, so was the idea that the fight broke out, and then that he was that he was right in some way for not wanting to go? Is that what you're saying? Or
no, I don't think the fight was actually like a device to prove a point. I just think that was part of the action to progress the story.
I think the whole New Year's Eve thing is just part of the constant power struggle that is happening in the movie. Like she wants to go out, he wants to stay in, obviously, and there's a lot of differences between them because of their age, but they kind of have the same values underneath, I guess. But yeah, I guess I don't know. They're just angry at each other in that scene.
But I just don't get why. I don't get it because he kind of compromises for one of the first times that we kind of see. He's like, stuff it. He actually we see prior to him deciding to go, he seems really bothered that he's not there, which is kind of an interesting moment. And then he goes, and then he kind of, I don't know, what I gathered from the look he kind of gives looking out on the crowd is that he's kind of envious that he understands why Alma wanted to go to this, and he's kind of like, oh shit, this is actually not bad. That's kind of what I got from it anyway. But then I just don't get the transition to, okay, there's a little fight that breaks out, it looks like nothing major, but then he kind of walks out there angry with her, like what?
Yeah, I don't know, that specific point where he was looking at her like up against the wall, it did confuse me a bit. There's no dialogue in that scene, so I guess it's hard to interpret.
Perhaps you're right about him, about the fight changing his mind about, I know I was right that we shouldn't come here. Because I think you're correct in saying that when he first gets there and he's glancing, it is, almost a I was wrong thing. But when he actually gets to Alma, it is, much more he's the one in control there. I don't know, I feel like you can kind of see the power shift in that short span.
Yeah, so I guess in that way it would kind of add to the continuing constant power dynamic thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can accept that. That's fine. I will say, like, I don't know, maybe it's nitpicking. I did find the direction quite confusing where I actually rewound the scene. Is it rewound? Do you rewind? I rewinded?
Rewound.
That doesn't make any sense.
I think it's rewound.
Whatever. I rewound. I rewound.
Back.
Thank you. I skipped back. That's much better. I skipped back the scene, and I was still confused. I was like, I actually got no idea what the hell happened here. That was kind of a weird little bit of direction. It didn't click with me. But I guess other than that, though, would you say that the again sticking with the ending, that the pivotal scene, that the shift into the realization, if you will, that was the scene where they're sitting kind of in the kitchen?
Wait, what do you mean, sir?
In the last act, when they're sitting there in the kitchen, and she's like, it's a very slow, drawn out scene of her. She's pouring butter and cooking it with something. Is that the turning point? Do you think?
I don't think it's a turning point as much as because I still think I still think that there's going to be a back and forth in who controls the relationship after that. But it's just that in him allowing himself to be poisoned, it gives Alma the control for that type, and I think it reveals a bit about his personality, that he is willing to let go of control. But I still think that once he comes over this, given given time, I mean, she even says it. He will, grow into his former self again. But then, I'll just have to do it again. So I don't think it's so much a turning point as it is just something else.
Development.
Development.
Yeah.
I like what you said about how it kind of showed that he was willing to be poisoned. That's the word I love that. Yeah, that is really what it is, isn't it? That he kind of gives into her. She's the first woman, at least I believe so, to kind of challenge him to the point where he's just like, yo, shit, I'm actually like going to compromise here,
Yeah.
Is that the core of it, do you think?
I think it is. Because, I mean, from the start, you can recognize that she's, strong-willed, and it's a different experience for him. So I think, much of the film is about him conceding to her.
So in that sense, what makes... Because I think that is really interesting. What makes her different to... At the start of the film, there's another woman sitting in her spot, who I guess presumably is another partner of his in some way. What makes her different to anyone else? Why is she the one that he is compatible with in that way? Why does she get to him?
Because I think Alma was the first one that actually challenged him. I think because you see Cyril towards the end, or not towards the end only, but at moments in the movie, she does, at times contest his points. So I think that, the women he keeps in his life are those that, do challenge him or fight him on some points.
Yeah, I guess so, because Cyril very much does keep him in check, kind of. Absolutely, that's a good point. Okay, yeah, well that does work then, because I guess the person sitting there at the start of the film, wasn't it like she makes croissants or some shit, and then he's like, I don't even like those, and she's like, what? Like, you get, that is a good point. That is a scene that kind of, you get the sense that that person or any other person in that role, in that spot previous, doesn't have that willingness to persist and break through with him.
Because, I mean, the person in Alma's role, the people before her, they're not anyone overly significant. They're just his current muse. And I guess with time, your muse just kind of fades with each each person. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I guess that natural attraction that was first there, I think it just naturally fades. But with Alma, she was different.
A recurring kind of sequence or scene that it actually takes place chronologically at the end of the film, and then it's the first scene, and then it comes back multiple times, is Alma speaking to the doctor about her relationship with what's his face, Woodcock. Actually, hang on. While I said that, let me jump into some trivia here, which I find fun.
The name was a joke. So
yes, it was.
Sorry,
the name
Reynolds. I just ruined your thing.
No, it's fine. I'm totally fine for it. The name Reynolds Woodcock, I still can't say it, began as a joke suggested by Daniel Day-Lewis to director Paul Thomas Anderson. The name made Anderson laugh so hard he cried, cementing its presence in the script. That's great. I love that. But yeah, talking about her relationship with him, and what does she say? She says something along the lines of how he made her dream come true, and in return, he gets every bit of her. Is that right?
Yeah. In return, I gave him every piece of me. Pretty sure.
Yeah, right. So, how does that tie in, do you think, to kind of what we're talking about here?
Just to go back to the ending with the mushrooms and the butter.
Yeah.
She can't. He needs to kind of be weak to be open and tender, as she says, with him. So, and also he kind of has a boyish aspect to him. He the way he wants his relationships to work is he really wants to feel cared for from someone who's maybe like more powerful than him, and by him letting her make him sick, she he lets her care for her and kind of have that power in the role to care for his needs, which replaces Cyril.
Mm.
Because like in the movie, it's kind of hilarious how there's that scene with the doctor, and he's like, "Oh, thank you, Mrs. Woodcock," and they both like, you know, they both extend their hand like they're both Mrs. Woodcock. So it's kind of like,
Yeah, yeah, that is good.
yeah. So they're fighting for power in the movie, kind of, but yeah, they're both kind of fulfilling that mother role that he keeps referring back to. That's back in the back of his mind.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Are they fighting for power, or because they both acknowledge that they like each other, like Alma and Cyril. They acknowledge that there's respect there and that
I,
they admire each other.
yeah,
So is it?
I think I think at the start they're fighting for power a little bit because Cyril wants to always take care of Reynolds, and usually with his muses, it becomes something that Reynolds is sick of, and that Cyril basically needs to get rid of them and deal with them. But as the movie develops and Cyril actually sees Reynolds become happy with um, Elma, then she kind of does the motherly thing again and like stands back. Like Reynolds comes to her in her office and is like, she's a disturbance. Like, what are we gonna do? What are you gonna do about it? And she's like I'm not gonna do anything for you anymore. I can tell that this is actually a good relationship for you. So Alma kind of wins over her because she's as strong-willed as Cyril is.
I think Cyril's right in that. Like, I think it's evident that Alma brings out the best of Woodcock because I think you're right about him having that boyish nature about him, and it's only he's perceived as a man because of those walls he puts up. But in the scene at the wedding where Alma tells him to get his dress back, that's not something he would do on his own. But that's her, you know, encouraging him to stand for himself and what he actually like believes in.
Yeah, yeah. All the women in his life have the power over them, basically. Power over
Mm,
him.
yeah.
I really liked the relationship, like you've been saying with Alma and Cyril, because the moment when Cyril first admits that she really likes Alma, I was like, wow, really? Like, I did not get that vibe from her at all prior to that. But I guess that just adds to everything you're saying. I think that's a really I think that's a cool relationship in the movie. So we've kind of I think touched on, and I think it's more obvious that the transformation, I guess, or if we look at the film as these two people trying to, in their attempts to become compatible, ultimately being successful, I get how where Woodcock starts and where he ends, and his kind of transformation in that way, his willingness to give up his controlling way, or or at least for her to accept that in some way, and his obsession and all that thing. How do you think Alma in any way kind of changes uh, for her to compromise? You know what I mean?
How does Alma change? Um,
Because I think Reynolds has a clear kind of, or at least a more obvious, I don't know, transformation. I guess I don't know, like a just characteristics that are negatively affecting the relationship constantly, and then as a result of that, seeing how they become compatible and how he kind of through because of what she does, it just is willing to accept her and change a little bit. So but I guess what I'm saying is from point A to point B, what changes about Alma?
I don't think Alma has uh, as much of a change, but I think she still has to kind of deal with all of Reynolds' flaws, which there are many. So
So do you think it's about in relation to her just kind of accepting who he is?
yeah, yeah, I guess that's her side of it.
Okay, cool. That makes sense.
I think I think she's
Yeah.
balanced at the start, and she remains balanced throughout. Because I mean, we recognize immediately that she's going to be different, and that she is someone that has the will to
Mm.
refuse Reynolds. But we still see her in a like our first introduction to her is in a as a waitress, as a server, and like that remains at the end of the film when she serves him the food. Like she still keeps that same position, but she's also we still recognize that she does control some power. So I guess I don't think that she does go through too much of a transformation, and if she does, it's not overly obvious. I think the film's more just about Reynolds' transformation and how she acts as like an enzyme in that.
And I think that's well represented visually a lot of times because there's a lot of moments, scenes where we see he kind of often it's represented where he's walking around, he's doing his thing, walking around dresses, fitting people in dresses, and we see his uh, absurd amount of helpers around him, all female, and kind of surrounding the room or whatever else, and they're all wearing the same coloured clothes. And I do like how kind of towards the end of the film, Alma kind of while that crowd and often, sorry, I should say throughout, often she's just one of these figures. She's just one of the another person in the white dress, even though she clearly is closer to Reynolds than the others. She's just another one of them. She's just another, I guess, prop in his game, which she calls it. So the fact that then you notice that then towards the end of the film she kind of is wearing different coloured clothes to the other ones, how she's taking a more prominent position in the scenes, in the shots, kind of represent what you're saying quite visually well, I think.
Yeah, she definitely wants to distinguish herself in the movie, and you can see that in that scene where like the girl from Belgium comes over
Yeah,
who
Princess
speaks
Mona.
French.
Was it?
Who speaks French? Yeah,
Mm.
and she goes over to her and kind of because when she walks in, she doesn't shake hands with Elma, and she shakes hands with a lot of the other ladies in the house. And so Alma kind of comes up to her and says, like, I live here too, kind of showing how she wants to be seen as important in the house.
I think keeping on the track of visual storytelling, I enjoyed. I do like the scene after. Well, actually, hang on. Before even that, the scene. When Reynolds he becomes sick and was nursing her for an extended period. Sorry, nursing him for an extended period of time. The thing that did confuse me about that scene and that moment is that when he collapses and damages the dress, how then Alma kind of rushes into Cyril's office and says, he's sick, he's collapsed, whatever, and Cyril doesn't believe her. I don't. Why is that? Because isn't he known to have earlier in the film? He's like he commonly has these kind of episodes.
I don't know, but it's not Cyril. It's not Alma who goes to Cyril's office. It's two other ladies.
Oh, you're right.
Alma goes straight up to the room with him.
You're absolutely right. That's a good point. But you know what I'm saying though. I don't know. That kind of was weird to me. Like, didn't the film make a point earlier of saying how he has these episodes and they're common?
It ties into how he feels cursed. He kind of goes into these episodes of thinking about his mother and I don't know, thinking about his past and stuff.
I get what you're saying. I guess I don't know. For me though, like the fact that those two things, which I based on what you're saying, and I guess you're right, meant to be different, like this extreme sickness versus this just kind of depressive state. The fact that they're both kind of represented by him lying in bed in the same way. I guess to be fair, like he does vomit and shit in the sick state, but I don't know. They kind of look similar to me. Like there was
What
no
do
clear
you
distinction. Like
What do you
he
mean?
didn't go to hospital. He didn't go to hospital for being sick or anything. You know what I mean? There was no clear from a just a visual standpoint of like, oh, okay, this shit is next level now. You know what I mean?
Wait, what two scenes are you referring to?
I'm referring to when he has the first time he's shown to have just an episode and he's just lying in bed and Alma's like taking care of him.
Yeah, I think so, but I'm not sure if I'm confusing the scene you're talking about for the dress scene, or if I'm so I'm like
Oh,
my
okay.
memory's kind of shaky as well on that.
Oh, oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. So do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't. I was confused by why the sickness was such like a next level thing when, to me, other than the vomiting, like it seemed pretty similar.
So you're talking about halfway through the movie when he's like, he has a really bad day, and then he goes back to the countryside and kind of rests, or is that he's just his house?
I think it's just his house, but either way, you got me. Yeah, you're talking about what I'm talking about.
Okay. I think this ties into how he needs he needs other people to function, I guess, because he's kind of he's a very frail kind of person. Like, obviously with the everyone, if someone makes too much noise at breakfast, he like can't function for the rest of the day and stuff. But like that kind of those episodes, I think, are just they kind of show how he would need that other person. Like that would usually be Cyril, but Alma's doing that there, I guess.
Mm,
I think
mm.
the purpose of that scene in the movie is just to show um the aspect of their relationship where Alma takes care of Reynolds.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that all makes sense. All I was saying is that I was just confused by like how the fact that Cyril was so surprised by him collapsing when. Yeah. Anyway, but no, it makes sense. Yeah, he doesn't normally. You're right. He doesn't normally collapse. He gets into those states. He doesn't normally vomit, etc. So yeah, that's fine. It makes perfect sense. But in general, I would say that I just really enjoyed. Obviously, Daniel Day-Lewis, like he's killer. Um, but I really enjoyed this character. I really enjoyed the decision to take a look at someone who's so obsessed with creating art, and it's his passion, and kind of through the lens of the relationship, just kind of exploring the effects that has on someone, the psyche of someone who just lives for that aspect of their life and what they do. I feel like it's kind of a. Can you guys think of anything else? I just feel like it's kind of a unique um, character and theme in a kind of in a film. I don't know. I don't think I've seen it before.
I guess the TV series Genius kind of explores that. You know,
Really? What's it? Yeah.
the first season's about Einstein, and the second season is about Picasso, and then now the third season is going to be about Aretha Franklin, I think. And I think
Ah,
that's kind of an in-depth study of like genius at work. So I guess you can kind of look at that
huh.
and compare the two.
That's cool. That's cool. I haven't heard of that.
I think There'll Be Blood definitely does the same thing, but I mean Reynolds is still a unique character and lives more for the passion of his the
Yeah.
I don't know, the emotional element of his work, because most of his dresses are he's kind of trying to create the like his first dress was for his mother, or one of his first dresses, and he's kind of trying to recreate that every time. He's trying to yeah, he's trying to like redesign that, I guess.
Yeah.
He's trying
I
he's trying to make he's trying to make a dress with that much importance as the one he made for his mother. Each time he makes one, I think.
I think he's got some really interesting traits. I just love how brutally honest he is, and he's just when he's like just talking about the dress, he's like, yeah, it's a bit shit, isn't it, or whatever he said. I like that a lot.
It's just not very good, is it?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
It's ugly. Yeah,
He sounds like us being film critics.
the movie is pretty funny at times as well. It's very sharp.
Yeah,
Just all their little like fights and quibbles and like the
yeah.
breakfast scenes are just hilarious.
I think when he was going on about Chic, like that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's funny. What is
Yeah,
that
that was
word?
really good. With the relation to There Will Be Blood that you brought up, Fitzy, like I do think there are definite similarities uh, in the kind of I guess it's kind of in relation to the total commitment and devotion of a person to a goal, I guess, of any kind. It sounds a bit general, but
Yeah, the whole work
um,
work versus people, work versus love
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, absolutely. No, that's great way to sum it up. Exactly. But I do think the fact that this film does that in relation to a creative field, that to an art form, whether it's, and that can be applied to any kind of creative exploration. I do think that that's quite different enough to me where it's like, sure, I see that there will be blood similarities, but that it's definitely stands on its own 100%.
Well, I guess in There We Blood, it's not explicitly an art that Plain
No, definitely not.
View does, but it's kind of an art to him at least. Like he's kind of just that. He's has the same level of passion about his work, I guess, that it's kind of an art form.
I was gonna say I just like wanted to comment on how like the film was created in a whole, because like it's set in the 50s, but it also feels at times like a film that was actually constructed in the 50s, with the way the story plays out, the shots, the camera work, the score, the way it all feels very um, feels of that era as well. Because like I think often what you'll see is that with film, like with period pieces, they feel constructed in the modern day. But
Yes.
I think this does a good job. I mean, I'm not even sure if it was the intention. Maybe it wasn't, but it feels like as if it was crafted in that time.
I agree with you 100%. And what it was the visual look of the movie. Can can you maybe shed some light on what that was? Because to me, I don't know if it was just a lot of film grain or whatever kind of some kind of camera technique or something. There was something 100% I was seeing the whole time that was like, yo, this feels old,
I think I think I felt it very early in the movie, like most prominently was with the shot of him driving to the country, like that
Yeah,
the way the way the camera's positioned behind the car, and like it's so it's closed in on the car, and you really feel like the shift and turn. It feels something from like a Hitchcock or like something like that, like like one of those sequences of when like there's characters in his
Yeah,
films driving.
it definitely reminded me of a Clockwork Orange, that driving scene.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah, I see, yeah, I can definitely feel that there too.
I've not seen any of those movies, but I 100% felt the difference too. Yeah, I wouldn't. That's not something you'd see in any kind of period piece or not in any kind of modern film for sure. And speaking of period pieces, I like what you said about how it does feel like it was constructed in that time, because Lincoln, another Daniel Day-Lewis movie, is a movie I really like, but yeah, it because Spielberg film, it does very much feel like a movie created today,
Well,
and
Spielberg's just not a very good director. That's why.
oh, yo, do you care to elaborate?
Um, I think Spielberg's been lucky in his career with the films that have landed on his lap, and I think, like, no doubt he's talented and he's got, at least like an idea of what's going on. But I think
Yes, an idea.
his films get way too much praise, because I feel like I think his films. Sorry, I think he gets way too much praise for his films. I think he like he himself doesn't have the greatest influence. I think you can take a lot of his films and give them to much more talented directors, and you'd end up with a much better product. I don't think he's that pivotal to his films, is what I'm saying, because he doesn't write them, does he?
No.
I just think that he selects his projects well, and his name draws other good names in both actors and crews, and budget, obviously. And I think it's a combination of that makes his movies actually like good. But he himself is not overly talented. I think he's good, but I don't think he's brilliant.
I was carrying on, but I actually completely agree with you. 100%, I'm with you. Yeah, 100%. I think it's, yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak to it too much because I don't really understand, how he's, his process for selecting films or anything. But yeah, I feel like it was a combination of luck in the early days. Yeah, he's 100%. He's 100% really good. But yeah, I agree with you. I get
like,
no
I
sense.
don't want people to think that like he is good, but overrated as hell
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like I don't think. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I'm sure we might talk about this more in the future for other circumstances. But yeah, no. But Lincoln, it's a movie I like. I think Spielberg did a good job. But yeah, but it doesn't have that flair. It doesn't have that style or it doesn't really have any style. I think Spielberg's direction in general lacks a feel, you know. And I guess we're getting into what Fitzy was on about last week, but I 100% get what he was saying there, and that's a good example of it, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I guess the lighting adds to that authentic 50s feel, I guess. Kind of like I haven't seen Barry Lyndon, but it kind of just reminded me of all the natural lighting that I've seen for Barry Lyndon. Lyndon, is it London or what?
Lyndon, yeah.
Wait, what are you saying?
Barry Lyndon, Kubrick's film.
Another Kubrick film.
Gotcha. I was like, what the hell are you saying?
But also I thought Vicky Creeps and Leslie Manville were just really great in this film. They were, I think just as good as Daniel Day-Lewis. But I guess that's also, you can give credit to PTA's writing and Daniel Day-Lewis's, kind of he doesn't own the scene too much so that other people can't bring their own acting to it. He like lets people in,
Yeah.
Speaking of Daniel Day-Lewis, where do you guys think? I mean, actually, hang on. I've seen 4 other Daniel Day-Lewis movies. Where does this performance kind of rank for you guys? I'm sure, Fitzy, you've seen more than that.
I haven't seen
All
too
right.
many Day-Lewis films.
How many exactly? Just this one, or?
No, I've seen 2, 3. I've seen The Crucible as well, and
Gotcha.
In the Name of the Father. No, I definitely like. I think it obviously it's way better than his performance in The Crucible. But in terms of,
I haven't seen that.
haven't you? Oh.
No.
No, I think it's a fine film, but it was early in his career. Didn't have, I think no one can question Day-Lewis's commitment to the craft and his dedication to it. But I think in terms of like his performance overall, I think In the Name of the Father was still his better performance.
Yeah, I definitely think There'll Be Blood still tops this, but I think, I don't know, it's kind of on par with his Gangs of New York performance. I've also seen that from him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to watch that movie. That sounds cool. I've only seen 4 of his performances. This is my least favorite. Not to say it was bad by any means, obviously, but yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I think There Will Be Blood might be my favorite performance of all time. Not to hype it up too much, but it's something.
I mean, me too.
And then
probably,
yeah, right, yeah. And I think, well, like from there, In the Name of the Father is really good. Lincoln is really, really good, and I think that's probably his second best from what I've seen again. And then I don't know, like this is really good. I just think it doesn't stand up to the others.
But here's a question: is Daniel Day-Lewis actually an actor? Because he's so method right that he goes and he learns a craft, and he lives the lives. But if he does that, is that actually acting at that point, or is that just him? Actually like working as that.
he's just like 12.
If he trained for 3 years to be like whatever his role actually is like called, like a dress designer, whatever it was, is that actually acting, or is that just him being a dress designer?
Yeah, he just has 15 different people inside him.
Yeah.
He just like whenever he goes to Wendy's to get a milkshake, he just becomes Plainview. Oh my god. Yeah, no, he's amazing. I don't know. Yeah, it's wild. The thing, speaking of him going so method, like, kind of unrelated, I guess, but in The Name of the Father, like, I love reading the trivia that he like locked himself in a cell for days and got the crew to like hurl shit at him. Like, what?
That's hilarious.
Anything
That's
for
just
recognition.
wild. Yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, at that point, I'd rather be Tom Cruise. I'd rather be like, jumping out of planes and shit than be in a prison cell.
Although, like, the confusion that does arise from the New Year's scene and, like, what does happen because, the lack of the dialogue, I still think it's one of my favorite scenes in the film just because of how stunning it is visually. Like, it's,
Yeah.
it really pulls you and just, like, keeps you on, like, it just draws. It just like there's like it just draws you into it, and there's like I don't know. I think that's
Yeah,
like one of the most standout scenes for me.
it's so colourful, that scene.
I'm actually I'm kind of with you in the opposite at the same time, where I 100% agree with you that it's one of the most visually striking scenes in the film, and it really pulls you in. But for me, and look, it's probably just a me thing because I'm dumb and I like couldn't figure it out or whatever. But the fact that the whole brawl thing happened and I was so confused, I was taken out of the movie for a good 30 seconds. I actually think it's like kind of one of the most disappointing scenes in the movie for me, because it starts off with this, this great potential of this visual shit going on, and then I'm like, it just lost me.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
when I was actually watching it, I don't think I found it. I think I followed it. It wasn't until now that discussing it, I think that questions arose in my head. But like just watching it for the first time, I thought I followed what was happening, and that's what kept me in the scene.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. I guess just
Yeah,
my brain or something, because
I
as it was
think.
happening, I was like, I genuinely, when it was happening the first time, I was thinking, did I miss a shot or something? Like,
Yeah, I think the film has its kind of like own subtle logic that like you kind of
hmm,
understand subconsciously, but you can't really say what's happening. It's
Mm.
kind of
sure.
it's very like it's very just primal, like subconscious kind of stuff.
I guess in that sense, yeah, it just, in that particular moment, that didn't subconsciously click for me. But yeah, I get what you're saying. One
Okay.
thing I haven't mentioned yet is the score of the film. And I mean, I love me talking about some scores, and I'm glad Jaden's on here who actually appreciates scores. Hey, Fitzy.
What do you mean?
I'm just saying, like the last 2 weeks, I've come on and talked about the score, and you're like, oh, I didn't notice it.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, this score is actually good, so
Yeah, I
there you
think
go.
like,
Wow.
but like before it even on the black screen is when the score starts, isn't it? Like on the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like
Yeah.
immediately you can tell it's going to have a massive impact on the film, and like
Yeah.
I think Greenwood does no wrong. I still think You Are Never Really Here
No.
is the better score, but I think I think it's really brilliant. It complemented the film really well. The actor,
Mm.
with just what's happening on the screen. So
It's a very musical movie. Yeah, like I think there's like pretty much always something playing, and if there's a silence, it's like intentional, like something's shifted.
mm.
But yeah.
I think I read like Greenwood composed like 130 minutes worth of music, and they only used about 90 minutes in the film.
Okay.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the score is very effective. I liked it a lot. It's not something for me. Like, I guess I love scores that I can go back and listen to just on YouTube or whatever else, and just like, this is a sick beat or whatever. But this obviously isn't that. But not that it needs to be in any way. I thought it was really effective.
Mm, definitely. I think that's why Greenwood. I mean, I think PTA and Greenwood obviously have developed a relationship over like the what four other films they've worked on. So I think Greenwood understands the way that Anderson's films flow and the way they work, and he understands that the score does need to be subtle at times. And I think that's something that a lot of composers don't take into
Mm.
account these days, where they try and just blast out whatever they can. And while it may be good, it may not be appropriate. And I think that's why Greenwood did really well on this.
Yeah.
Very well said.
The There Will Be Blood score is amazing too. It's definitely Greenwood's best, I think.
That's funny because I love There Will Be Blood, and I'm really looking forward to rewatching it. Hopefully for this show. But I honestly don't really remember the score that much. Actually, no, that's a lie. I remember obviously, the opening 15 minutes is just insane. But then I remember the last scene shit there too. But I don't throughout. Don't remember it being that, because it's quite subtle, isn't it? Like kind of throughout.
Well, I think this goes back to what Jane was saying, which is that like, yeah, Greenwood's scores are just so in tune with um, Paul Thomas Anderson's direction that even if they're not subtle, they kind of just kind of fade into the background. Even if they're like, when you listen to the score, the There Will Be Blood
Mm.
score on its own, it's like really intense and epic. But when you pair it with the movie, it just kind of fits perfectly that it's not like a glaring thing.
Yeah, so I remember the final scene of that movie, and I kind of only noticed the score when the title card came up. I was like, holy shit, that was like intense the whole time, and I hadn't even heard it. Yeah, that's a really good point. Anything else?
I guess like we can compliment like location and set design because I think that was stunning as well. But I think that just comes with the craft of the film and just everything was really well put together.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think generally set design is something that's quite underappreciated, so I'm glad you shouted that out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Love me some set design.
Hell yeah.
Baz Luhrmann, The Great Gatsby. Oof.
Oh, I need to watch that movie.
Add it to the list.
I will. It's probably already on there, honestly. All right, let's reveal our score out of 10. Jaden, you start us off.
Oh, I mean, I'm new to the podcast. Do I have to start?
Hell yeah.
I gave it an 8 upon watching. I realize now I probably should have given it a 9 because like I've sung nothing but praise for it. Really.
Wow.
Wow. I think it was just brilliant. I think it was well acted, well designed, well constructed. Everything. I think the story lost me at some parts just because I think naturally it is a rather slow story just because of the subject matter.
Yeah.
So, but I think it still. I mean, to create a 2 hour and 10-minute film about a dressmaker and have me engaged for 95% of the time. Brilliant.
Awesome. Fitzy?
I give it an 8. It's definitely closer to a 9, but I think it's slow at points, and also like compared to something like There'll Be Blood, there's a much more limited scope. But yeah.
When you're rating a film, should you be comparing it to? I mean, I guess it requires you to compare. Yeah.
That's a really interesting discussion to have for sure. I mean, I'm sure this is going to keep coming up, but I mean, yeah, part of me kind of just wants to look at the film independently and just say, like, what percentage of it did I enjoy, kind of roughly. But I don't know. I feel like you kind of inherently have to compare on some level.
Yeah, that's why I stopped saying like what I was saying. I was like, oh wait, no, you probably do.
But I totally get what you're saying though. I've thought about it plenty of times as well. It's weird.
It's like, yeah, but also like the same 3 people here, like Paul Thomas Anderson, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Johnny Greenwood, were also on There'll Be Blood. So I guess it just came to mind. But I think even on its own, I'd still give it an 8. Definitely close to a 9 though.
Well, I hadn't decided before I got here, and I really still am on the fence between a 7 and 8. And look, kind of in my own brain, like an 8 is like a great movie. Like that's a great movie. And for me, like throughout, I don't know if I can, and obviously all these things are super hard to find, but I don't know if I can say with confidence that was a great movie, So I'm going to give it a 7, but with the caveat that I do think it's quite close to an 8. I did really like it a lot.
Okay. What was kind of stopping it from being a great movie to you, or was it just the subject matter didn't lend itself to that kind of score?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think the story overly resonated with me. I think it's really interesting. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I was like bored shitless by it, but it didn't really resonate with me personally. I think There'll Be Blood kind of has more. Again, yeah, comparison thing, but like I don't know. I just think There Will Be Blood is just kind of a lot more epic in scale, obviously, but also feels more strangely. Even though this is a love story, it feels more personal in a weird way. So. But yeah, no, I think it's a 7, but like, I mean, it's this weird thing where like I'd probably, if you want to go full decimal bullshit, I'd probably give it like a 7.6 or 7 or whatever the hell. But like, I'm just going to round down. I'll give it a 7.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like that's what I was saying. Like I gave it an 8, although it probably should be a 9 after what I've said, but still sticking with an 8.
Wait, so you gave it an 8? Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I thought in my head you had given it a 9. Gotcha. So we're 8, and 7. Yeah, no, all good. But Fitzy, you had given this movie a 10. What made you change your mind there?
So I was kind of really taken away with the ending this time because of just how much it tied into everything. But I was also bored at earlier points in the movie, so I went back and watched a bit of it and thought, like, I think the ending is perfect, but overall it's an 8. So yeah.
That's really cool. I think hopefully, if I rewatch this movie one day, I think hopefully the ending resonates with me more. I think it probably would.
Cool.
Perfect. Okay. So then, for you, Fitzy, as our PTA fanboy, as we all know, where does this kind of stand for you amongst Paul Thomas Anderson movies in general, though?
This is 6th on my list of his 8 movies, so kind
Okay.
of low, I guess.
Perfect. All right. Now, I've got, as the structure of the show dictates, I've got some news chat to do. Not a whole lot of interesting shit to talk about this week, but hey, why not? I mean, I'll throw it out there, see if any discussion sparks. If not, who cares? In our third update of the virus just affecting everything, I wrote here that Wonder Woman 1984 was moved to August 14th. And I'm sure there are a bunch of other delays and shit this week. Like, I honestly can't keep track of it anymore. Were there any other standouts that you saw, Jane, of like the coronavirus delays and things?
Yeah, I just recalled. Now that you've mentioned it, Matt Reeves, the Batman, has now officially suspended production. So that's going to be a big delay as well. Marvel shut down all their productions
depending
as
on
well.
how long
it's all the same, really. Just shut down everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And tying with that, I also have here that the not that any of us I don't think give a shit, but the Walking Dead finale. I read it because it's interesting. It won't air until later this year because they're having issues with the post production on only the last episode of the season. So the show's going to have its 15 episodes because they're 16 episode seasons. It's going to go up to episode 15, and then they just can't air episode 16 yet. So they're just going to air it whenever the hell they can, basically.
Sorry, but
that's kind of interesting.
What would the problem be in post production that's preventing them?
I honestly don't know. Honestly, couldn't say. Like, well, I assume it's not with the editor or anything. I don't know. So going back to Wonder Woman, like August 14th, I feel like that's an interesting date because it was coming out in June, right? So they seem confident if they're moving it to this date instead of an indefinite delay that we've seen other studios taking. They seem bullish that everything's going to be fine in August.
No, I think it's just. I don't think. I can almost guarantee it's going to get postponed again. I just think that they've moved it to another date rather than indefinite because it's going to keep the movie more relevant. Because if you have that date approaching, people will be discussing it more. It's like, oh, everything else has been, postponed, but we still have this coming up in the future. So naturally, I think more discussion will occur around that, and it'll just keep the movie, more to the forefront of others' minds.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I think, you think about everything else that's been delayed indefinitely, and I can't even name, hardly anything. But if they have a date, you still hope for it.
Something that stays on the lineup, is definitely easier to remember, as opposed to like we talked about Black Widow last week, and the fact that that's kind of just stuck in a void somewhere. It definitely takes it out of mind.
As a horror fan, Jaden, are you any interested in The Invisible Man? Are you thinking of renting that or renting any other movies that are coming out straight on demand?
No, I don't really rent films. I either purchase them or I stream them, and it's either. Because I like, it's just if I really enjoy a film, I'll purchase it, and just for the sake of keeping it. But if not, if it's just something I can watch in passing, once, twice, maybe on your Netflix or your Foxtel, whatever, I'm more than happy to do that. I don't really rent.
Gotcha. Well, the thing is actually because there's been all this news about how you can rent all these new movies coming to these platforms pretty quickly. I looked last week after we've talked about this Fitzy a few times over the last 2 weeks, and I looked last week on the good old Apple TV, and there was nothing. There was no Invisible Man. There was no whatever else. So is it only a US deal at the moment, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
So I was interested. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the fact that those shutdowns are kind of more were prevalent earlier there. Maybe I don't know. Well, that was the incredibly robust news chat for this week. Talked about a lot there. Let's end off with what we've been watching recently. Jane, do you want to kick us off? Who wants to kick us off?
In terms of TV, I started HBO's The Outsider.
Awesome!
Pretty good so far. Gotta love Ben Mendelsohn, as an Aussie, support other Aussies,
How many episodes of that have you watched?
First 3.
Cool.
I think it's really fantastic so far. I think it's really engaging, and
Yeah.
by having a mystery that's also got that supernatural element, it kind of makes itself more individual than other Western products. Because I feel like that's something common in European products. You'll find it a fair bit that mysteries do like tend to lean into like some supernatural aspect, but in American or English productions, they tend to be purely factual. So I think that the outsider and engaging in that added factor, it makes it stand out.
Awesome. And that's based on a Stephen King story, right?
Yeah, correct.
Cool. Okay. I had really been wanting to check it out, but I've got, frankly, I've got a fair few other shows on my plate at the moment. And I know Ozark also just came out a few days ago, I think, so I need to check that out too. But, I definitely want to get into that in the coming months for sure. What else you got?
In terms of films, I recently watched some Danish thriller called A Conspiracy of Faith. Nothing brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stock standard Nordic noir.
Okay. Of course, I love me some Nordic noir.
Yeah. And then also, I watched the newest Annabelle film, just because, for the sake of watching the series. Wasn't terrible. Wasn't anything special either. So, I mean, rounded that up on a 6 as well. So,
cool.
I think Phantom Thread was a standout for the week.
Nice. Well, that's handy. Hopefully, we don't get to the point. I mean, oh god, we might actually get to the point where we're doing movies that aren't the standout for the week. I watched Skyfall this week, so that's talking real trash, aren't you? Oh god. Yo, The Rise of Skywalker is a standout for any week.
Oh my god, it's trash.
All right. Is that all, Jen?
Yeah, that's all I've been watching.
Perfect. Fitzy?
I've watched a few things, but in terms of what everyone can watch on Netflix, I've seen I saw Hot Fuzz and a new Netflix release called The Platform. So yeah, I think most people have Netflix, right? So you can get on those.
Fitz, is Hot Fuzz the best like British comedy you've ever seen, or what? Best comedy, in fact, ever.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty great.
I need to watch that. I've never seen it. So it's on Netflix now. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely one of the best British comedies I've seen.
Oh, you didn't say what you thought of The Platform.
Oh, The Platform. Yeah, it's kind of a good little social commentary film. It's like, so basically there's this vertical like prison thing, and there's like so many levels, and it starts with food at the very top, and it goes on just this one big thing of food, and it keeps going down, and everyone's supposed to have like food by the end, but yeah, people are kind of greedy near the top and stuff, so the food kind of runs out, and yeah, it's interesting. It's a Spanish movie, but subtitles and there's dubs and subs, and so yeah.
Zach Hayes foreign films, that's never going to go on the watch list.
Of course. As for what I've been watching, I've been watching Westworld. We got the second episode this week. I'm going to continue updating everyone on this one for weeks to come. And where are you at, Fitzy? I know you were talking about how you were trying to catch up. How's that going for you?
Yeah, I'm still at episode. I still haven't seen the finale.
Gotcha. Okay. And you were like halfway through season 2, is that right, Jen?
Yeah, I think I'm at 2.5 or 2.6. And I mean, that hasn't changed for about 2 years. I really should probably hop back on it.
Yeah, I highly recommend you both get caught up, because the show's great, and I don't think this second episode had some clunky moments, and I don't think it's nearly as good as the premiere. But the premiere is so good, and I'm still stoked for where this story is going. It's just so clear that Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan, the showrunners, just have such a clear vision for what they're doing here, and I don't know. I love the show, and if you thought they had a budget before in the first 2 seasons, dude, they're just flexing on their budget. It's like, I don't know if it did or whatever, but it looks like it tripled. It's ridiculous.
I rated season 1 very highly. I think I gave it a 10, actually. but season 2 lost me a bit, hence why I'm stuck in the middle of it. I think it was a really interesting show, and I think because I think was it 2016 the initial release?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the time I wasn't really watching anything
So
that was too similar to it, so I think that's what kind of caught me with it as well.
Yeah.
so
Yeah, fair enough.
you're sort of stuck where I was near that
Samurai World.
Samurai World episode kind of thing.
Mm. Yeah, it's strange because I thought season 2 started really well. I thought the characters they were introduced were pretty, interesting, but I feel like it lost its footing early. But I guess I have to watch it to see if it can fix.
Yeah. The Samurai World is, and I honestly don't. I think, and I don't know if I know the fan base too well, but I think it's kind of commonly accepted as not the great shit. For me, it's definitely the low point of the whole thing for me. And once you get through that, I think in season 2, episode 8, and then beyond, you're clear of it. You're very clear of it because the last 3 episodes of the season are wild. So yeah, no, I'm loving that show. Yeah, I'll keep updating you. I'm really excited about it. Continuing on, Better Call Saul again. Another one I'll keep updating you on. So goddamn good. This show is so underrated. I feel like just in general, kind of movie, TV, lover circles. It's just absolutely terrific. It's the most unique show I've ever seen, and anyone who's seen it, which I don't know if anyone listening to this has seen it, but the way that the last episode ended on was just like, what? It's just crazy. I don't know. It's just such a fun time. I'm just smiling the whole time watching it. Clone Wars had a great episode last night. Really enjoyed that. Big improvement over last week. And I put it here because I hadn't mentioned it in any of the other weeks, but I had started Castlevania Season 3, and by all reports, it's amazing. I've watched the first 4 episodes of it, and I'm really looking forward to checking more of it out. I just haven't, been prioritizing other things. But yeah, no, I highly recommend Castlevania. I think it's really good. And I know IGN gave Season 3 a 10, so I'm stoked for where it goes. But yeah, no, it's always really good. Have either of you seen... I know, Fitzy, you haven't seen. Have you seen Castlevania, Jane?
Nah, I'm not a weeb.
I mean, hang on.
No,
I'm no weeb either.
Yeah, no, I understand. No, when it was initially released, it didn't interest me. So I didn't even know there was a second season, let alone a third.
Yeah, and it just got renewed. Actually, I probably should have put it in the news. Got renewed for a 4th, which is very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it just didn't pique my interest initially. Maybe now that you've mentioned it, I might have a look into it. But
the first season's only 4 episodes, and they're all 20 minutes long. So the first season's super accessible, and I just think the show's really cool. Like, obviously, it's digging into established lore from the games and everything. Like, it's not like the show created this story, but at the same time, I just love. And I guess it's just a compliment to the franchise in general, how it's such a unique take on vampires, where I feel like typically whenever someone, the premise of a show or a movie or any media is based on vampires, I just find it inherently cringy. I'm like, oh, vampires? Like, oh, shit, they vow to suck your blood and they can't go out in the sun. Like, I don't know. I find it super dorky. But the way that this lore and this show represents a really cool vampire story with, as Dracula as the main antagonist. And it's just all these things that I find kind of corny, generally speaking, in just pop culture, just makes them all really cool and gives them all the characters really interesting dynamics. I guess what I'm saying is this show makes vampires cool. There you go.
Watch if you want to see some good vampire stuff, watch Let the Right One In, or its English remake, Let Me In. Really brilliant vampire stuff, I reckon.
What language is that originally created in?
Swedish. Thomas Alfredson directed it.
Oh yes, of course. Now I've got who the hell's that?
I think you might know him by the Snowman, which is nowhere near a testament to his work. But he's done some other stuff in also in Swedish. I think The Snowman was his first English film. But he's actually really, really good director. Oh, sorry, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy was his was also in English, which is also brilliant.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a Gary Oldman movie, isn't it?
Yeah, did I say that too fast? Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
No.
Yeah.
There you go. It's a funny title though.
Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you all very much for tuning in Cinema Effect, our lovely third episode. I will reveal next week's movie. We are doing. I don't know. Did we mention it earlier? I don't know. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a movie that me and Fitzy have never seen, and Jaden has. That's right.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yo, and Fitzy, I'm going to continue this. You can be the person. It's a crazy job. It's a really special job on our show. You can be the person to notify the audience where to watch it.
Oh, yes, and you can find that on Stan if you have Stan. Although not many people have Stan, but you should get Stan because Stan's amazing. So get Stan.
Stan's actually got a solid lineup of movies. Very good.
Yeah.
I'm like, half the time, I like scroll through there and I'm like, oh shit, there's that, and there's that, and there's that, and I just keep going. I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, it's got stuff that can appeal to everyone, but it's also got more experimental stuff, more stuff that people who are more into films will like and stuff. It's got a really great collection.
Again, all our social media links, as always, are in the YouTube description. So have fun with those if you care. I'll add Jaden's this week. And like I said, submit stuff to us in the YouTube comments. Send me shit. I'll read it. Again, anything. I still want to talk about tigers on this show, and we haven't yet. So hurry up, okay? Oh, and of course, sorry, you've got to do the homework I gave you. Make sure you leave a comment about one show you've been watching recently and what you think about it, and I'll read them all out. Isn't that fun? All right.
I mean, what if you get like swamped with like 1,000 comments all of a sudden? Will all 1,000 be read?
Oof. I mean, that'll give us plenty of content in future episodes. So that's okay. I mean, I don't think I have to worry too much about that unless all those bots come back again.
What if that wasn't a bot, though? What if you just pissed off someone online?
Fisty, he had 156,000 subs with 0 videos.
True.
That was great. Any commented the second the video was uploaded too. All right. Thank you all very much for watching. Jade and Liam, great to have your company today.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
No worries. I feel like I need some kind of outro, but I guess I'll just say, yeah, all right. Bye.
See you later, alligators.
Wow.
Is that it?